what's going on, everybody? Hey, welcome back to the channel. Look, I got some bad news to bring to you all, and I apologize up front. I've done a couple videos here in the last month or so, and neither one of those videos were of great quality. So I'll basically have to do everything in the live portion. I apologize for that. For some odd reason, my camera is not translating how I want it to when it comes down to the quality of the video recording. So instead of trying to record and edit to you guys, I'll basically just come to you guys in a form of a live stream, if that's okay with you. If you are out there, please let it be known that you're out there, whether you're watching on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. If you have some questions, please feel free to message me or put them in the chat or whatever it may be. If not, that's perfectly fine as well. I'll keep pumping these particular type of videos out for you guys, and then we'll go from there. Some of the things we have on our agenda, as you guys can see, we'll basically go over. We got some the Roquan Slander that we had a week ago, or a week or so ago. We got some Hotseat Coaches that I think will be on the hot seat if their season doesn't go well early on in the season, and there can be some possible changes in the middle of the season. Don't be surprised. And then we also talk about the Ravens schedule and their prediction. But again, if this is your first time here, don't be afraid to say hi. If you aren't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. One of the videos I'm going to bring for you guys, I'm gonna start introducing some defensive coverages to you guys, and not to insult anybody's intelligence or whatnot. But my whole thing is trying to get us as fans as familiar as we can possibly get us when it comes down to the game from a defensive side of the ball. Particularly in the secondary is where I'll be focusing on, because I'm a defensive backs coach. I do know about the trenches, do know about linebacker, I do know about the schemes of things, but my particular emphasis will be on the coverage and how you can kind of mask some things and so forth. All right, so again, if you're out there, if you can see me, or if you can hear me, if you can't, please let me know. If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. Give me a yes, I got you loud and clear, whatever it may be. And if you don't let me know, I'm assuming silence is consent when it comes down to you guys can hear me. And if you can't hear me, please say something, or you can't see me, please say something, so we can make sure you guys are getting what I'm putting out. All right. The other thing too is the disclaimer. So if you guys can't read any of my particular slides that I'm producing, please let me know. Hey, I can't see your slides. The font is too narrow, it's too tight, or whatever it may be, and then I'll try and change it to you guys' liking. Because at the end of the day, that's why I'm kind of doing these videos. I'm doing these videos for you guys. I absolutely love the game. I can do these videos for anybody. If it's just one person saying, hey, I want a particular video, or what's your thoughts, coach, on this particular thing, just let me know, and I'll try to do the best I can to get you guys a video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into these particular slides. All right. So as we know, the strength of schedule came out a few days ago, probably, I want to say about 10 or 15 days ago, something of that nature. And again, I apologize for this video. I know it's kind of old, based off the information that came out. But again, I recorded this video, posted it, and it didn't come out like I wanted to look for you guys. And I'm a stickler when it comes down to how my stuff looks, because what I don't want to do is give you guys a bad product, and then next thing you know, hey, you're saying, hey, coach, putting out these bad videos, or I can't see anything, or I couldn't hear you, and so forth and so on. So, all right, first thing we want to talk about is the primetime games, right, and the lack thereof for our Baltimore Ravens. And again, a lot of people say, hey, you know, well, why the Ravens should get it or whatever it may be. I just feel if you're a top 5 team in the NFL, I feel like, hey, people should want to see you a lot more. But then again, I do understand the brands of football. I do understand the marketing part of it. I do understand the worth of certain teams and whatnot. And our Baltimore Ravens are relatively young compared to some of these other franchises and whatnot. So when it comes down to that, hey, uh, maybe we don't get that benefit of the doubt to be on the primetime games and whatnot. Maybe the NFL doesn't see us as one of their babies when it comes down to, hey, okay, I got to take care of this particular franchise and whatnot. And I knew, as soon as these primetime games got released, I already knew the Kansas City Chiefs and Dallas Cowboys was going to definitely be in or around the top five of the teams that's wanted to be seen. Partly because of Kansas City Chiefs' recent success over the past 5 to 10 years, and the Dallas Cowboys, again, whether we like it or not, is one of the most highly marketable teams in the NFL or of all sports brands in the United States of America. So we can hate it, we can love it, but it's the God honest truth when it comes down to the Dallas Cowboys being worth a lot of money when it comes down to their particular franchise and whatnot. All right. Here's where things start to get interesting. A team like the Atlanta Falcons, the Miami Dolphins, and even the Chargers. Now we're starting to scratch our head. Hey, wait a minute. How are these teams more marketable than our Baltimore Ravens? And considering that, hey, we make it to the playoffs and have a run or win a game at least in the playoffs. And some of these teams don't even make the playoffs consistently and don't win a game consistently as well. But that's neither here nor there. I just think, hey, look, the NFL probably needs to look at this a little bit more with a fine tooth comb, because now we're gonna sit. If we're gonna start to do this, you lay the potential for a clunker type of game to happen. And I'm not saying, hey, either one of these teams are going to wet the bed, but I am saying that when you don't put the premier teams on your primetime games, that's where you start to lose your ratings and whatnot. And I just believe if we're saying, hey, we're in the game or making money and having ratings or whatnot, then I just feel like, hey, I want my cream of the crop franchises to be on my best particular times in the evenings, in the afternoons, or on the early Sunday morning somewhere, or whatever the case may be, if it's on a holiday or whatnot. So I just feel like, hey, okay, look, if I give these particular times allotted for these particular networks and I'm going to have millions and millions of people watching, I need to put on the best possible show to recruit as many non-NFL fans to the NFL as I could possibly do it. And I just felt like, hey, then against the Atlanta Falcons, then against the Chargers, then against the Dolphins, I just felt like, hey, okay, look, I think the Baltimore Ravens is a little bit more prepared to make a run in the playoffs and possibly contend for a Super Bowl than those other teams. That's just me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe somebody got a different of opinion. If you got a different of opinion, please let me know what your opinion is and why you think those three teams are more marketable or better opponents. I'm a better prime time team than the Baltimore Ravens. So, all right, the next thing we'll talk about is the strength of schedule. The strength of schedule comes out every time when the schedule release comes out. And what happens with this particular thing is some people kind of use this as their predictor to how a team is going to fare. And me, I just look at it for what it's worth. And they also have the projected number of wins, as you guys see on the far right column of this strength of schedule picture. And what happens with that is basically some people kind of say, okay, look, this particular team has a cupcake schedule. This particular team is going to struggle or whatever it may be. And I just feel like, hey, you got to play the games, right? You still have to play the game. But what I am looking at, though, is you go from the hardest, number one, to the easiest schedule, which is 32. Oh, no, my bad. I'm sorry. It's reversed. Easiest to the hardest, which will be the New York Giants. And as you see, right, when you come down these particular things, you just sit here and say to yourself, like, how does this type of thing happen? And I can tell you how it happens. It happens the way it happens because of uh, teams winning the schedule prior. When they win the schedule prior against said teams, playoff teams, or whatever it may be, then this is what kind of happens when it comes down to, hey, okay, look, you won these particular games, and now, okay, we're going to put you against these particular opponents. Now, certain things are kind of set up the way they're set up. Whether there's a rotation, hey, the AFC North plays the AFC East, those things are going to happen. But when you don't have those rotational bases of the schedule, now you draw opponents like a Dallas Cowboys or Green Bay Packers out of the blue because of, hey, these are the teams that you beat to get those particular type of opponents. Case in point, if you look at a team like the Buffalo Bills, Buffalo Bills has the fifth easiest schedule, right? But if you were to look at how they fared with the teams they played last year, is because of what they've done. And then also you got to look at the rotation of who they're playing this particular year. I want to say they're playing the NFC South. I want to say they're playing them this year. I could be wrong. But again, if you look at the teams with the easier schedules, you're looking at the teams that haven't made the playoffs or haven't even made haven't had any significant wins in the playoffs outside of the Buffalo Bills. Now, a lot of people look at the Buffalo Bills and say, "Hey, this is a cupcake schedule." They have the NFL in their back pocket. The NFL is kind of pushing it, and I'll tell you this right here: every game is any given Sunday. Any given Sunday, we can say it's a cupcake schedule, or we feel like, hey, they're not getting equal share of the opponents. At the end of the day, you got to go back and look at the schedule that they played over the last few years and see who they played and where they played them at and how they have fared. And then again, this is kind of helped shape shifts years down the road of why this particular team draws this type of schedule. And I'm not mad at it at all because at the end of the day, yeah, they're favored in their games or all their games or whatnot, but the game still got to be played. Okay, to me, a 3-point or less favorite, that can go any kind of way. That can go any kind of way. One particular possession that you don't capitalize off of, the room for error is so small in that type of game. So I just feel like, hey, some of those particular games where they're favored in could swing either way. So don't be surprised again if the Buffalo Bills, stumble over a couple of the games that they're favored in, because again they're favored in all of them. I don't think anybody's projecting them to go 17-0. As you can see, they have the same projected type of numbers of the Baltimore Ravens, which is at 11.5. So if you have the projected wins of 11.5, same as with the Baltimore Ravens, and you're favored in all 17 of your games, so that just lets you know right then and there, hey, they could be staring a 12-5 type of, or your 11-6 type of record based off the projections alone. But some of the things that are interesting to me is you see some of the teams with the harder schedules that didn't do as well in free agency or doesn't have a good roster. So it's basically saying, hey, look, they're going to a bloodbath, right? And I just feel like, hey, a team like the Giants, the Browns, are they ready to handle the types of schedules that they have? The Browns always have a crazy schedule, but you got to play the game. And I'm be honest with you, don't be surprised. Again, just like I was talking about the Bills, don't be surprised if the Browns sneak up on one or two type of teams or one or two teams that they play on their schedule. Because again, it's any given Sunday. If they're able to be coached up and explore a weakness or a tendency that you have, then guess what? This particular Browns teams could beat you regardless of who we think is at the quarterback or at the helm of the quarterback or whatnot. Believe it or not, if you let them sneak up on you, I believe the Browns could surprise some folks. Again, I'm not saying, hey, they're going to make the playoffs. What I am saying is that, hey, you have to come out and play the game week in and week out, no matter who's on your schedule. You can't overlook anybody. Case in point, if you overlook some teams on your schedule, those will be the games you lose that you're supposed to win. Some of the teams that are interesting to me, there's two teams on here that's very, very interesting to me, is the Green Bay Packers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Reason why these two teams are interesting to me is because they're kind of, hey, look, they're not going to really win their division or not forecasted to win their division. But again, if they get some things going right throughout the season, then they could contend for the particular division. If they contend for the division, now we're talking the playoffs being shapeshifted in a whole different dynamic. Especially because if you look at the NFC North, with the Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings, both being potentially better than those particular teams, or I'm sorry, one particular team is projected to be better, and I think the Vikings could probably overtake the Green Bay Packers in their projections if they don't get what they need to get early when it comes down to their passing game off the ground and help complement their run game. The defense, I think their defense will rebound, and I think their defense will be fine and do what they needed to do. It's the offense is what's going to really matter. Can you settle Jordan Love down early on in the season and not have to press? Because again, if he starts to get rattled and starts trying to press, now you're talking about a team, not even the Vikings. We're talking about a team like the Bears could sneak up on them and be second in that division. Or depending on what the Lions do, hey, they could end up first in the NFC North. Because again, the Lions do not have an easy road when it comes down to their schedule. So I just feel like, hey, okay, look, um, with this particular schedule design, if it ends up being closer to accurate prediction and how teams are going to fare, I just believe there's again small room for error. Like we're talking about a game and a half, 2 games. That's what we're talking about, and those 2 games could be against one another, especially a divisional opponent. We know, hey, look, some team could get swept. That's probably not the better team, but just being honest with you, that can happen in a division. It can, it doesn't happen often, but it can. And if it does, now we're talking, hey, okay, look, the Vikings not making the playoffs, and now we're talking a team like the Chicago Bears makes the playoffs. So again, with these projections, if they go accurate like they are projected, then now we're talking, hey, you're looking at the Vikings, not the Vikings, yeah, you're looking at the Vikings and the Bears missing the playoffs, and then now you're talking about the Green Bay Packers and the Minnesota Vikings, not Minnesota Vikings, but the Detroit Lions making the playoffs on the NFC North. Um, the thing that's interesting about the Ravens is you also look at all the other teams, and far as we see, nobody's projected to get 10 wins based off of their particular schedule right now. And that's very, very interesting because we know, hey, that the AFC North is always a bloodbath, when it comes down to, hey, how they play each other. And then towards the end of the season, you have 4 of the 6 divisional games at the end. I just feel like, hey, that sets up for the division to be taken by somebody, depending on how well they do early on in the season. A team like the Pittsburgh Steelers, if they're 6-0, 7-0, and going into their bye, now we're talking, hey, look, that may change the dynamic for this particular matchup with the Baltimore Ravens twice on the right side of the schedule. And what I mean with that is, so now we're saying, hey, okay, a particular team could be have a lesser record, but because you have those division games, now we're talking, hey, that particular team, if they win both of those division games, can now overtake that team with a better record. We've seen that happen last year with the Baltimore Ravens. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I think, was 7-3 or something like that, and the Baltimore Ravens was like 6-4 or something off the wall like that. And then, the next 3-4 weeks they played each other, and the Baltimore Ravens end up taking the division from the Pittsburgh Steelers in the last couple of weeks of the season. So again, that type of thing could set up itself again this particular season. So don't be surprised if we don't see if we do see something like that happen again, because again, like I said, the schedule is set up for that type of thing to happen with the division games on the right side of the schedule, just like I said. All right, so if you guys got any questions about the schedule, feel free to put them down in the comments or wherever you're watching and let me know that, hey, I want to know about this, or what do you think about that? And I'll kind of give you my opinion on it. All right. If not, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next slide. All right. So this is my Ravens record prediction, and I got it. Some of you guys probably want to throw poop at it. You're probably telling me, hey, Coach, you don't know what you're talking about. Coach, you're crazy. There's no way they do this. I think they're going to finish 15-2. I think they're going to finish 17-0. whatever your thoughts are, it's cool. That's your particular opinion. I'm okay with whatever your opinion is. These are my particular opinions, and I have my particular reasons by this or behind this reason why I have it like that. And I just think um, early on, I think the Ravens are going to come out and be motivated and do what they need to do and get some early wins. And I just feel like the two games at home are going to kind of be the games to where, like, hey, the Ravens are going to try and put their stamp on the league or put the league on notice, if you will. I feel like the early on game against the Buffalo Bills, I think that's too big of a test for the Bills. The case in point is only a 1.5 point favorite for the Bills. And again, like I said earlier, a point game that close like that, I just feel like that's the difference of a possession, stringing out a possession or getting a touchdown instead of a field goal on a possession. And I just feel like that could be the difference maker in a game that tight against the Bills and the Ravens. Um, with the Browns, I just don't think the Browns are ready to go just yet. And I just feel like the Ravens come in, or they come into Baltimore at MNT and they get it, taken to the woodshed early on. With the Lions, I feel like their defense is still kind of reeling. Their offense, I think the offense will still be fine. I don't think they'll have those particular issues. I know Aiden Hutchinson is turning the corner in his preparation to get back out on the field. I just feel like, hey, they're not ready just yet with their losses that they had in the secondary and along their defensive line. So I just feel like the Ravens kind of sneak up on them. But I will tell you right now, if you're thinking it's going to be that 38-6 type of win they had, you're surely mistaken as a Raven fan. Please don't think, hey, we're going to go, they're going to come to M&T and the Ravens are going to blow them out again like they did I want to say it's 2 seasons ago they blew them out. Just don't, I don't think that happens again. Okay. But I do believe that the Ravens get a win and they are 3-0 and they're looking good. And then that's when I think that our first adversity is going to set in as a fan because I just feel like this particular team, when they go out to Kansas City to play them, I just feel like, hey, whether it be lucky calls, whether it be breaks, I just feel like they capitalize on certain things because the Chiefs can afford to play an ugly game and still beat the Ravens. The Ravens cannot afford to play an ugly game and still beat the Chiefs. It just doesn't happen. And we've seen the Chiefs kind of play down to other opponents, the Lions, the Panthers, and then against the Lions. But this was before they got all the things humming that they got humming. And we've seen that, hey, they had a struggle win where it was controversial. Some people say it was cheating for the Chiefs. It was controversial, whatever it may be. Some of the stuff that was going on in the Lions and Chiefs game, but then the Lions got a win over them and beat them. And I just feel like, hey, okay, we are probably not going to get that version of the Chiefs. We're going to probably get the best version of the Chiefs, especially at home. And then also on top of this, there's a little bit of, hey, look, you guys are never going to be on our level type of deal between the Ravens and the Chiefs. And I just felt like, hey, right now or this early in the season, I would be very, very surprised if the Ravens go in and get this particular dub done in Kansas City. And I'm not sitting there saying that because I don't believe in the Ravens. I just believe that, again, the Chiefs are going to stand up for this type of game, knowing what the playoff implications are going to be later on down the road. So, week 5, playing against the Texans. Texans come into M&T again. C.J. Stroud, for whatever reason, has struggled mightily against the Ravens when he plays against them, particularly in the playoffs. And I just don't see it being any different. Even though I know it's not the playoffs, I just feel like the Ravens are going to handle their business when it comes down to how they can win, how they can attack the Texans' defense. The Texans' defense is kind of consistent, but not consistent enough. And I just feel like, again, this is one of those games where the Ravens could come out and do what they need to do, especially coming off the loss to the Chiefs. think they rebound well here, and then we move on to week six. And week six, I believe this is officially a trap game. Here's the reason why I say it's officially a trap game. The Rams have done some good things to their defense. Done some good things to their offense in this past season, and I just believe, for me, I believe this is where the Ravens get snuck up on. You know, they sneak up on the Rams, sneak up on the Ravens at M&T. Not sitting here saying, "Hey, they're going to blow the Ravens out" or anything like that. But I just feel like the addition to Devontae Adams with Matthew Stafford, I just think couple that with Puka Nakua and all the pieces that they have around them, I just believe that this may be a little bit much for the Ravens to overcome offensively when it comes down to our defense. We take a loss here. We drop down to 4-2, and we go into our bye. Now, this is where things are going to get really, really interesting. Is because now, hey, this is grinded out time, and we know, just like I know, the little bumps and bruises start to develop, and they're going to linger. So this is going to be the key to the season, how we handle these next 5 games. And if we can go 4-1 over these next 5 games, I just believe this sets us up for the playoffs. It starts to look good for us. And with the Bears coming into M&T, I believe this is a significant win for the Ravens, especially coming off the loss before the bye. We play the Dolphins. We know how that goes. Outside of their comeback win in 2022, I believe it was. Outside of that particular win, we've kind of handled our business against the Dolphins. As long as we continue to keep the same type of recent history, shouldn't be an issue. Even in Miami, going down there and taking it's a homecoming for some of our Raven players. I just feel like, hey, the Ravens are going to be looking to start to make the playoff push. And I just believe these are the type of games that the Ravens know they got to have, especially shaping up for the AFC playoff seeding. Week 10, I just believe going to Minnesota is probably going to be one of those things that, hey, I think the Ravens could give away a game here, and one of these games could be intertwined or replaced with another team. I just feel like there will be a team we're supposed to beat that we may lose to, just like we mostly do in our seasons. And I just believe this particular week is when we start to see that. All right. So we take the loss to the Vikings. Again, I'm not saying the Vikings are going to blow the Ravens out. I just believe, again, that in certain parts of the schedule, we kind of play down to our opponent. Not saying the Vikings are not going to be a good team. Again, they're projected to have 8.5 wins, and that could balloon to 10 or more. So I just believe, again, with a team like the Vikings could cause some problems for the Ravens when it comes down to what they do, because we haven't played the Vikings a lot. So I just believe, like, hey, the unfamiliarity with them could be an issue in the game for the Ravens in the later part of the season. All right. So these next 3 games against the Browns, Jets, and Bengals, 2 of them which are at home. I don't believe those particular teams will give us any kind of problem. I believe the Ravens hold steady and do what they need to do and rattle off 3 wins. 2 of those, again, like I said, 2 of those at M&T, and 1 of those are at the Brown Stadium. I just feel like from week 11 to 13, I feel like the Ravens should get W's on all 3 of those particular games. Week 14 is where it gets interesting. And the reason why I say week 14 where it gets interesting, because as you can see, out of these last 6 weeks, we played 3 divisional opponents. And then we played 4 divisional games. In those 4 divisional games, 3 divisional games in week 14. Those 3 divisional games, the Steelers, Bengals, and Steelers twice, and the Bengals once. The division probably not going to be locked up until probably, again, week 18 is what we'll probably see, because I can almost imagine the Browns and the Bengals probably play as well on this particular week. And if that is the case, if the Bengals are anywhere significantly in the AFC North running, Now we're talking about, hey, the Ravens don't not even controlling their destiny. So again, the Ravens have to handle their business from week 10 to week 18. From week 10 to 18, particularly the AFC North division games, if the Ravens do what they need to do, this week 18 game becomes a little bit less meaningful when it comes down to for the division and whatnot. We know you win the division, it's probably one of the top four seeds, 1 to 4, and then that means you get a home game. That home game is huge for the Baltimore Ravens, as you guys can see. Not having those home games or even just seeding, if you get a top 2 or top 3 seed, now we're talking, hey, look, I got home field advantage throughout the playoffs. I can just tell you, people want to say, hey, certain teams don't have home field advantage. I believe the Ravens do have home field advantage crowd when they get the particular teams on the road. Because everybody, again, I think Isaiah likely said it in one of his press conferences. Everybody doesn't want to come to play at M&T Bank Stadium because, again, that crowd noise could be a factor, especially if the Ravens are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they actually move the ball. They're actually able to move the ball, force turnovers, get sacks, that type of stuff. Now we're talking about, hey, that crowd is even more amped up and more into the game to where now that particular team's or the opposing team offense starts to sputter, starts to stall out. And that to me, I think that helps the Ravens tremendously having a home field advantage throughout the playoffs up until you get into the Super Bowl. Who knows? Maybe this particular time, if they get home field advantage, we actually punch our ticket to the Super Bowl and get the job done this particular year. So I just feel like, hey, these last 5 weeks or 6 weeks matter so much when it comes down to seeing if that's going to be the case or if we're going to go on the road and whatnot. Not saying the Ravens can't win on the road. I just believe we're going to be better suited to play and win at M&T Bank Stadium versus traveling to Pittsburgh or traveling to Cincinnati or traveling to Buffalo or some of that nature. I just feel like, hey, we need to handle our business, control what we can control, and then that way we can get our home field advantage again, and we don't fumble it this time like we did in 2023. I just feel like if we can get that do-over, I think the Ravens capitalize this particular time. All right. So, like I said, with the Steelers, I feel like, hey, okay, we could stumble in this particular game, and the reason why I say that is because the Steelers always play us hard. We know them, they know us. We don't like them, they don't like us, and that's perfectly fine. And I just feel like, hey, okay, there's going to be some extra motivation for them to kind of return the favor to us in our home based off what happened to them in the playoffs. And I feel like, hey, maybe we probably press too much and make a mistake or two, and they steal this particular game. Don't worry though, if they steal this particular game, it may not be the end of the world. The reason why I say this is because as you look, you'll see, hey, okay, if that is the case and everything goes the way it's going, the Ravens will be 3-0 in the division. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh yeah, the Ravens will be 3-0 in the division, and they'll be 3-1 if they were to lose this particular game to the Steelers, and that'll be their first loss. Uh, And if that is the first loss, again, it's not an issue because that may be, hey, both of us may be 3-1 at that particular point. Or I'm sorry, Steelers may be 3-0, and we may be 3-1, and that's perfectly fine because what'll happen is if we win our next particular game against the Bengals, now we go to 4-1. The Steelers will be 5-1 or 5-0, but then that sets up a winner takes all week 18 matchup with the Steelers in their place. And I just feel like, hey, if we get to that particular situation, I believe that the Ravens will go handle their business. Here's the reason why I believe they'll go handle their business, especially if there's not a bye on the line for it. Meaning that, hey, we win, we turn around and play the next week. I feel like, hey, the Ravens have that. I think that they'll go all out to try and make sure, hey, look, we got to win this particular game, and if we can win this particular week and get a bye game. I feel like that will be all worth it in the end. But either way it go, I believe that if this sets up like the way it sets up, the Ravens win that last particular game. And then week 16 and 17, week 16, I think the Patriots offensively still has some stuff to try and work out. I don't believe they're going to be completely healthy on defense throughout the season. I think they're still going to have some lingering issues that they got to get past. With the new coaching staff, they're going to have a new identity. They're going to be motivated. I just don't believe that they're going to come into M&T Bank Stadium and get a win over a more complete roster with the Baltimore Ravens. I just feel like we'll have their number and we'll be fine when it comes down to the Patriots. The last game outside of the Steelers game, the week 18, it would be the Packers. And I just believe again, this is one of those games where like, hey, I think we kind of overlooked them a little bit and say, hey, look, this kind of game don't really matter that much to us. And I think we'll be focusing most of our time on the Steelers, preparing for that, especially if we know the AFC North is on the line. Now, what this may change is if the AFC North is already solidified, meaning, hey, we already know who the division winner is. I wouldn't be surprised if again, we win against the Steelers in week 14 and the Ravens lose these last two because, hey, look, we're trying to quote unquote throttle down and get coast our way into the playoffs. But again, I still think the record ends up being 12-5, no matter how you spin it. I just believe this is where I think I'm the most comfortable at saying, hey, how the Ravens finish another 2025 season and then get ready for the playoffs. Now, what does this 12-5 mean for us? It could be anywhere from the first to the fourth seed. Just don't know. Don't know. Reason why I'm saying that is because again, some teams could surprise you. Because again, the 9.5 to 11.5, that's 2 games. That means hey, they can play against each other and get swept, and that changes the dynamic. Now we're talking, hey, that 11-5 team drops down, and that 9-5 projected team obviously elevates and goes over, and that means hey, you don't win that division. And if you the Ravens don't win the division, now we're talking a significant uphill climb when it comes down to the playoffs and the road to the AFC Championship and possibly the Super Bowl. So. All right. So again, if you guys are out there, if you see, if you can see me, you can hear me, please text me, message me or whatever. I'll put it out there. Hey, I can see you. I can hear you. I can see your slides or whatnot. If you cannot see me, hear me or whatever, or can't read my slides, please let me know. And I'll try and adjust them to make sure that you are most comfortable and you're able to follow along with what we're doing. All right. So now the reason why I did this is because I was on Twitter, and people there were some things coming out about Roquan Smith last year, and I got it. Hey, he showed up overweight, didn't look like he was a starting linebacker in the league. He looked like he was a practice squad guy. Whatever you guys want to chop it up as, I'm okay with your opinions. You can put your opinions out there. You can say it's facts. I'll agree with you. Hey, he didn't look like he wanted to play football first part of the season, right? What I am going to sit here and say, though, is how he ended up, I was okay with it. How he ended up, because how he ended up wasn't that far off from where he was last year. Still had over 150 plus tackles, still had his particular issues in coverage, which again, a lot of linebackers have issues in coverage, and it's not so much they can't cover. It's so much about the data that they're processing when it comes down to their reads, when it comes down to the coverages that's being called, the responsibility that I have. Hey, look, if I drop in coverage as a middle linebacker and the quarterback takes off on me, I know coach is going to be ticked at me. So what do I do? There's a lot of different dilemmas. I'm not sitting here saying he can't do it. What I am sitting here saying, though, is that, hey, I'm okay if we give up a dig once or twice. I'm not okay with, hey, we're giving up 10 completions for 150 yards to a less than receiver. I'm not okay with that. The Kansas City game, some of you guys killed Roquan because you wanted him to run with one of the fastest guys in the league. It's just not going to happen. Rasheed Rice, he's not going to be able to run with Rasheed Rice. Xavier Worthy, not going to be able to run with Xavier Worthy. I can almost assure you there's probably 2 linebackers that can probably run with those particular guys. And I'm saying run with them, but not for long. Because you got to sit and say to yourself, like, that's a tall ask to ask for a linebacker to run up the field on a wheel route or over route or dig route, and then also have responsibility of the quarterback if he decides to run with it. That's just a lot to ask. Or to pass that off, be able to pass that off when it comes down to responsibility if the quarterback breaks loose. So I just feel like, hey, some of the criticism, I'm okay with. If you want to talk about his preparation, some of the criticism saying, hey, he wasn't this, he wasn't that, he doesn't call any kind of disruptive plays or whatever it may be. Guys, there's a lot more than a strip sack or interception or whatever it may be. It is a lot more, as you can see in the definition of the havoc play. What is a havoc play? It's defined as the most destructive type of play on defense, such as a pass breakup, a sack, interception, tackle for loss, or a forced fumble. Again, I'm not sitting here advocating that he is the leader in any of these categories. What I am sitting here saying to you is that, hey, those 150 plus tackles, they weren't just routine tackles after players got the first down. They were not all tackle for losses, but they were plays that where say, hey, look, this particular guy is doing what he needs to do, is be disruptive as much as possible as a middle linebacker within the Baltimore Ravens defensive scheme. And I felt like, hey, yes, he struggled. He can have a bad game. It's okay. He can have a bad game. He can have a bad game or two. What I am sitting there saying, if we was to take the totality of his particular career, his career, totality of his career, or what he had thus far, this was not his least productive year. This wasn't. Just being honest with you. So leave Bro alone, y'all. Just saying, leave Bro alone. Let Bro do what he do. I know some of y'all are mad at his fashion statement. Look, it's hard for me to process sometimes too, because at the end of the day, he's a country bumpkin from Georgia, and he's running around wearing Versace chains and shirts and stuff. Kind of reminds me of some of the old Master P days when No Limit was running around the stage with a bunch of Versace shirts and small colorful chains and stuff like that. But hey, it is what it is. Let Roquan do what he do. As long as at the end of the day, he turns out to have a productive season, I'm okay with what Roquan wants to do when it comes down to his fashion villa and all that crazy stuff that he likes to do in the off season. So yeah, but the slander, I think, hey, okay, we're talking about the preparation. Okay, no harm, no foul. But I need us not to forget, the significant impact he's had on this particular team. Because I can almost assure you, the moment Rowe is not on the field, I can almost assure you some of us going to panic when it comes down to the Ravens defense. We just are. And because we know, hey, look, if we don't have good linebacker play, the whole dynamic of the defense changes significantly. It's one thing to say the secondary, but there's a whole nother monster when instead of people throwing a pass on us, people just run down our throats. And I can just tell you right now, that's not pretty football whatsoever, especially from the defensive side if you know you can't stop anybody. All right, so right here, this is my fun part of my particular videos. And this is the reason why I say it's my fun part of the videos, because some people don't talk about this. Some of the networks, some of your favorite networks, wait until a team is 3-14 or 2-15, and then say, "Hey, this particular coach is on the hot seat." Well, I'm going to give you my hot seat before we play any game, and I'm going to tell you the reason why some of these coaches are on the hot seat. And it's simple. It's playoff success. I'm being honest with you. Janet Jackson had a song, "What Have You Done For Me Lately?" And that's what type of league the NFL is. And some coaches have a shorter leash than others. You have a coach like a Mike Tomlin. And I'm going to be honest with you, it is kind of hard to process as much praise people have given Mike Tomlin for being a winner or making the most out of nothing or doing more with less and so forth. Look, I'm being honest with you. There is no coach on this particular list that can make the playoffs 6 times in a row and not get wins, or 6 times and not win a game whatsoever. There's no coach that can survive that on this particular list. The reason why Mike Tomlin is able to do that, he's a Super Bowl winning coach. He's quote unquote done unthinkable things, getting a 9-8 with the, crazy quarterback situation and whatnot. And I'm gonna tell you the reason why I feel if, especially if he doesn't solidify his quarterback room, whether that be with Aaron Rodgers, whether that be with Kirk Cousins, or whatever it may be, I can tell you if he rolls with Mason Rudolph and Will Howard and company, if he rolls with that, and they end up on the outside of the playoffs looking in, I will tell you, don't be surprised if there's a resignation or hey, I'm going to step away from the Pittsburgh Steelers of my own power because the Steelers are not. I don't think the Steelers want to fire Mike Tomlin, but I believe there'll be a mutual agreement to depart when it comes down to if they don't make the playoffs and win a game. They have to win a game. If they make the playoffs, they got to win a game, especially because the other part to this is it's not like you've been drawing the toughest opponent, meaning you had the number one seed. If you had the number one seed, you got to buy, then you ended up playing Baltimore Ravens or you ended up playing the Kansas City Chiefs or Buffalo Bills or whatnot. I would totally understand that if that's what you've been drawing every year. But we're talking about wild card losses. You're talking about wild card losses, like multiple wild card losses. That to me, that right there would be enough. You know, when it comes down to hey, you losing to Cleveland, the Baker Mayfield led Cleveland Browns in the playoffs. I don't know, man. That to me, that's almost enough to say, hey, okay, look, all right, this year is it. If we make it to the playoffs, we got to get a win. We got to get a win because if not, your resume is only going to carry you so far. You got to build on. You got to be able to build on to that particular resume come late January, early February, and you got to be able to say, okay, look, at the end of the day, I can win when it matters. Because it's cool to win in the regular season, as we know with the Baltimore Ravens. The same thing with why Harbaugh was on this list prior to making the AFC Championship. If Harbaugh doesn't make that AFC Championship game, we're talking the same tune with him when it comes down to, hey, okay, look, you get to the playoffs, you don't get a win, you're not pushing the Ravens further to closer to the Super Bowl, then guess what? Hey, you're probably not the guy to advance this particular team with this roster. So let me get in here and get a new regime, and then we can try and get something shaken so well we can make a push for a Super Bowl. Because at the end of the day, Super Bowls is what everybody's goals are. And a lot of people say, hey, the season was successful. To me, your season isn't successful as a coach if you go in and you do the same thing 5, 6, 10 years of your career, you do the same thing, you end up in the same situation without getting to the AFC Championship and winning that, or getting to the Super Bowl and winning that. You got to win one of them. One of the championships has to come back home to you, so where now you can say, okay, all right, now it is worthwhile. Then you can kind of, loosen your belt loop up a little bit and say, I can relax a little bit because I got one of those Lombardis. Now we can kind of do some things when we need to do it, and you get started to get a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt. The next coach is Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan, the same thing. He had a ton of injuries. I'm not taking anything away from him. What I am saying and telling you is, outside of their NFC Championship winning, going to the Super Bowl, not winning it, that particular team, it has been consistent those couple of years, and then now it's starting to say, hey, okay, look, all right, what are they going to look like? They lost some significant pieces on their defense. They got some offensive firepower help. They got Brock Purdy signed. They re-signed Fred Warner. So now it's going to be, okay, what can we do now since we have done that? Since people have gotten paid, let's see what this particular offense can turn around and do. Let's see what our defense, the pieces of our defense that we still have there, what can we do with them? Can we kind of recreate that magic to kind of make consistent runs to the NFC Championship against the Philadelphia Eagles or a team like the Washington Commanders? If we can do that and be consistent and at least get into the NFC Championship, now I think Kyle Shanahan can kind of fall off of this particular list. If Kyle Shanahan does not have that type of success, don't be surprised if Kyle Shanahan doesn't shoot up this particular list and possibly a top 5 spot. And even if the people are healthy, don't be surprised if they say, hey, okay, look, this could be an in-season firing of this particular coach. Because again, I told you that Super Bowl, winning that Super Bowl is the thing that allow you to take your belt loop and loosen it up a little bit. And he doesn't have one. So he has to basically say, look, I got to go out and try to do the best I can to either get to the NFC Championship and win it, or get to the Super Bowl, no matter what. Because at the end of the day, teams in the NFC are starting to get closer to the Eagles without them staying in their second or third spot away from the Eagles. And I'm just being honest with you. You're looking at a team like the Detroit Lions that took their spot. And don't be surprised, a team like Tampa Bay, a team like the Green Bay Packers, the Minnesota Vikings, those teams could turn the corner. If those teams turn the corner, now we're talking, hey, where does San Fran finish? Do they make the playoffs? Do they not make the playoffs? Are they a wild card team? Do they win their division? That's the thing that you got to start asking yourself. Because I'm being honest with you, the Rams aren't going anywhere. The Rams aren't going anywhere. Don't be surprised if the Seahawks are able to turn the corner in Matt McDonald second year as a head coach. And I just believe, again, what they have done, even losing Geno, I just believe, again, having what they have with that young receiving core, the young defensive pieces that they have, I feel like they addressed some things in free agency in the draft. And don't be surprised if some of that stuff starts to come into play and works in their favor and they contend for that particular NFC West division. Just being honest with you. So again, the Rams, the Seahawks, don't be surprised if those teams come threatening to the Philadelphia Eagles crown when it comes down to the Kings of the NFC. And again, I just believe Shanahan is losing his little bit of a benefit of the doubt when it comes down to where he's finishing, whether he makes the NFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. All right, number 8, Brian Callahan from Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers is an interesting thing. Here's the reason why. It's one of those teams that has a lot of expectations, but they haven't achieved a lot. And I believe the reason why they have those particular expectations is because some of the pieces that they have around them, they believe that they have the roster that can compete. Case in point, they played Kansas City pretty tough. They should have won the game. Again, controversial. But they felt, I'm pretty sure they felt like, hey, okay, look, if we can go toe to toe with a Super Bowl champion type of roster, we believe that, hey, we should be able to contend with anybody. And I'm just being honest with you. And that could have been a result of any given Sunday or the Chiefs kind of overlooking them, whatever it may be. But that I know for a fact, looking at those coaches and looking at those players, they believe wholeheartedly, hey, look, we should be in contention, if not for the NFC South, at least a contention for a playoff spot or some of that nature. And I just believe they're not going to take too many more of the 3-14s or the 5-12 type of seasons. And I just believe if that starts to happen, again, we could be looking at an in-season firing of this particular coach. Because again, you're given a benefit of the doubt after 1 year. Now we're saying, hey, year 2 and 3, and you're still doing the same thing, or we getting the same results. We just believe like, all right, man, it was fun while it lasted, but we got to go in a different direction when it comes down to a coach. Number 7, Todd Bowles. Again, one of those. This is a strange situation for him because it doesn't look pretty in the regular season, but somehow, some way, they find a way to contend in the playoffs. If that happens this year, Todd Bowles probably falls off this list. If they contend in the playoffs, they win a playoff game, and they make it to the NFC Championship or the divisional. And I believe, okay, I think they'll be okay for that particular part. But if they win the division and they get bounced in the first round, don't be surprised if Todd Bowles gets asked to come into the office of the GM, not the GM, but the owner, and say, hey, look, thank you for what you've done for us. We enjoyed it while you were here, but we got to move in a different direction. Just don't be surprised with that. Number 6. Number 6 is very, very interesting. Here's why number 6 is very, very interesting. Because as you guys seen on the 2 previous slides, Atlanta has one of the top primetime games. And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, what better way to set it up for him to be on the hot seat if he doesn't perform well or that particular team doesn't perform well in those primetime games? Let's say he goes 0-5 in those primetime games. If he goes 0-5 in those primetime games, now that can be the talking point of, hey, we can't win in big moments. that can be a talking point when it comes down to letting Raheem Morris go find a job somewhere else. So don't be surprised again if the Atlanta Falcons, if they're not looking the way they need to be looking and they lose these games on prime time. Please do not be surprised if the Atlanta Falcons are looking for a different coach come next year in the off season because Raheem Morris may not be there if he goes in those particular primetime games and looks like boo boo. It's just being honest with you. So even though the Falcons don't have crazy expectations, I just believe some of those expectations come alive with the primetime games, meaning the people are able to see them on that on national level. And if people can see you on a national level and you get taken to the woodshed on a national level, I just felt like, hey, the fans are going to get worried. The fans are going to probably start, posting memes about Raheem Morris needs to go, he needs to be fired, yada yada yada, and then that stuff started to build up. That pressure started to build up, and before you know it, about week 12 or 13 or something, depending on what they look like, the coach could be gone. Okay. Number 5, Zach Taylor. Look, I'm being honest with you. I'm surprised they held on to him. Maybe it was because of Joe Burrow threw for 4,900 yards and 40 touchdowns, I think, or something like that, or something crazy. Maybe because they got to 9-8 instead of 8-9, and they kind of held on to him. They didn't make the playoffs. Maybe because they made it to the Super Bowl, they're still holding on to this is the right coach for us. But I can tell you this: having paid the players that they played in this particular offseason, if that looks like they did again last year, again, another one of these coaches that could be gone before the season is out. Just being honest with you. Here's the reason why. Because Cincinnati already is being the laughing stock for what they're doing to some of the defensive players. Just been I thought they were going to move in the right direction, having finally replaced DJ Reader in the draft. They got a young player to do it. Don't know if he's going to be the same impact as DJ Reader, but DJ Reader been gone for a few years, and you're finally getting around to addressing it. But then now, guess what? You have a defensive lineman retire on you in Sam Hubbard, and then you have Trey Hendrickson as a holdout, along with the rookie Shamar Stewart. So now you have defensive line issues, and we already know Cincinnati defense was already an issue. Okay, it already was an issue. We're talking 41-38 games. We're talking 35-32 games. And we talking about teams that don't normally score those that many points that are having these type of games with them. And I just feel like at some point your offense is not going to be able to continue to do that because teams are going to catch on to what you're doing and they're going to say, hey, look, you have to beat us a different kind of way. You're not going to be able to beat us with what you've been beating us with in years to come. Just being honest, you also been kind of lucky as well because some of the stuff that you're doing, you're basically playing with your food, and then now you're saying, all right, okay, I'm good. I can go score a touchdown now, and some of that stuff is coming back to bite you. Case in point, against the Ravens, they were up against the Ravens, and if they had any kind of significant run game, and what I'm not saying, I'm not sitting here saying, hey, their run game was bad for the whole part of the season. I'm talking about, hey, if I get up by 3 points, I should be able to run my 4-minute offense and get out of there with a win, not having to throw an interception and then now let a team come back from down 10 and beat me. Because, again, I can't control the flow of the game because my run game in this particular game that we were playing is non existent. So again, that's one of those things where Cincinnati has to say, okay, look, we have to play complementary football. We have to get a defense that's going to help us out. And when it comes down to helping us out, Joe Burrow don't have to play hero ball. If Joe Burrow got to continue to play hero ball with Chase and Higgins, I just don't see how that's going to continue to be the recipe for success and possibly getting them back to the AFC Championship or another Super Bowl. All right, number 4, Shane Steichen. Again, I feel like the quarterback room for this particular team is going to be the key. How fast he can get acclimated with these particular receivers that they have, because again, they do have a young core of wide receivers. Again, keeping Jonathan Taylor involved in the offense, you have to do those things because I just feel like you give yourself a more of a fighting chance week in and week out for a division that's up for grabs if you stay being two dimensional instead of one dimensional on offense. The other thing about it is what is their defense going to look like? They took some significant injuries. They had some losses. Um, or you're going to ask your linebackers to have 180 tackles again, or you're going to be able to get at the you're going to be able to get after the quarterback like you need to, or you're going to be able to protect your own quarterback like you need to. Meaning, hey, okay, look, quarterback, you can't play hero ball barreling into defenders because you feel like, hey, they can't bring any kind of pain to you. Just being honest, it can be a routine type of play that you think is routine, and the next thing you know, broken collarbone. And the next thing you know, that changes your particular team. There is no Joe Flacco out there to come save you or whatever. You have to see it and say to yourself, like, we got to protect ourselves from ourselves later on in the season because, who knows? I don't know what Jacksonville's going to end up being. You don't know what the Texans are going to end up being. And if you are the Titans may be one of the surprise teams. I don't know. I have no idea. I will tell you that division is up in the air, and if you take a step back, now you propel a team like a Jacksonville Jaguars to come in and take the division from you and the Texans. Again, I'm not confidently saying that. I will sit here and say to you though, if you trip up, don't be surprised if a team like I said, the Jacksonville Jaguars comes in and takes that particular division from you and the Houston Texans. Number three, I honestly think if they had a better definitive option as a coach, I believe Kevin Stefanski would have been gone a long time ago. For instance, I think Mike Vrabel came on to the Cleveland Browns staff. If they were going to make a move, if Vrabel wouldn't have got interviewed or the Patriots job wouldn't have been available, I think this is where Vrabel could have ended up because I think he was on there as a defensive analyst or some of that nature for the Browns. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure he was though. And if that was the case, if Vrabel was going to not have a job or not be offered a job or whatnot, I believe wholeheartedly the Browns would have probably eyed Mike Vrabel as their next coach in Cleveland. Yeah, had he become available and not had the job for the Patriots opened up. So if Mayo would have stayed put, I believe this is where Cleveland Browns would have looked when it comes down to their next head coach. Number two shouldn't be a shocker to you guys. Again, I think he has some dirt. He has to have some dirt on the owner, some kind of dirt on the owner, some kind of dirt on the GM, because I just feel like again with some of the roster that they had when it comes down to the defensive side of it, I just don't see how they get ran out of the building as often as they do. And it's crazy though because at some of those games they're hella competitive, and all they need is just one drive from their offense, and they just can't get it. Part of it is because of quarterback play. That should be significantly different now, having the veterans that you have in the particular quarterback room. But it's just a matter about which one are you going to go forward with and trust the most. Because as soon as you're able to do that, I think it bodes well for your offense. And if your offense can continue to sustain drives, you can kind of keep your defense a little bit fresher, especially along that defensive front. That defensive front, I will tell you, it could be something really, really good, especially keeping Kayvon Thibodeau and bringing in Abdul Carter and what you already have with Lawrence. I believe the Giants could turn the corner when it comes down to trying to get into the playoffs. I don't think they're quite ready to be on the Eagles or the Commanders level yet, or even the Cowboys level yet. But I do believe that if they get some things that go their way early on, they could make a push for an NFC wildcard playoff spot. Don't be surprised if that happens if they turn the corner. But if not, again, we're looking at the seat get very, very warm around week 8 or 9, depending on how their record looks. Is they're below 500? Don't be surprised if Brian Dable start to make some visits to the owner's office, and we start to ask some questions about, hey, what are we doing here? And do not be alarmed if you get that notification around week 14, if they're sitting below 500, hey, Brian Dable has been let go by the New York Giants. Just being honest, don't be surprised about that. All right, and then number one, look, this particular guy, I understand they took some injuries on offense and on defense the last couple of years, but they have not drafted well. They have not handled free agency well. Their players are going on social media doing crazy stuff. That they're talking bad about their coaches, how about they want to punch them, and so forth. It's just a bunch of different things that's going on inside of this particular organization that's now being leaked public. And when that starts to happen, you slowly but surely lose the locker room. And as you lose the locker room, people gain wind of that. That's your boss. And then what do? They gotta let you go because I need to know when I'm not around, you have the team's best interest at heart. When it comes down to, I can get these players to move mountains for you without you being there. And if that is no longer the case for Miami, I just see them parting ways with Mike McDaniel, particularly because, hey, instead of them progressing past the playoff losses in the cold weather, we're not even making it to the playoffs now. We're not being consistent. And I feel like, hey, you're not making it to the playoffs consistently and at least losing. I feel like, hey, they're gonna say, hey, look, change the scenery would probably be nice for us. Same thing with change the scenery would be nice for you. And I just feel like, hey, that'll be the time to where they say, okay, look, all right, man, hey, Mike McDaniel, it was cool when you introduced, the offense with Tua and the slant and goes. You introduced all that cool stuff to us, and we was able to do that for probably 8 or 9 weeks. But hey, it's not working any longer. You got defensive players going on social media talking about, hey, I loved every city I ever played in, sending kind of cryptic messages and whatnot. You got receivers talking about they wouldn't mind punching you for not getting them the ball. I just feel like, hey, we were very, very, very close to Mike McDaniel time being up in Miami versus him staying there and hoisting the Lombardi. And I'm just saying to you guys, do not be surprised if this is sooner than later. This is one of those situations where, hey, again, a coach that's new comes in and contends with Buffalo for the AFC East. Now we're talking, hey, look, wait a minute. You had endless amount of times to come in and be in contention for the AFC East, and we've dropped the ball each and every time going against the Buffalo Bills. We have yet to close that gap. And if the Patriots come in and close that gap with Mike Vrabel at the helm, I just believe, again, that particular rope that Mike McDaniel had that was probably 3 feet now becomes a foot and a half. Okay. So again, Mike McDaniel is probably one of the coaches on the hottest seat right now because of all the offseason issues that's been going on in or around with this particular team. So, and then as you guys see on the right over here, these are the winning percentages, right? And the winning percentage is cool, right? But we're talking the next slide is going to be really, really telling. And of those coaches that have the lower winning percentages, you're going to be surprised, like when it comes down to who has the actual playoff wins. So, all right, so right here, Kevin Stefanski, 0-1 in the playoffs outside of the 2022 season. Since 2022, he beat. I want to say he beat the Browns, and I want to say he beat the Steelers in 2021. So I didn't use that. And you got Mike McDaniel. McDaniel was 28-23 in the regular season. Not crazy good, not crazy bad either. But when you get to the playoffs, you can't win a game. And again, it's one of those times where, remember I told you guys about playoff. Having home games in the playoffs matters because again, the narrative that's out there for this Miami team is they can't go into cold weather and win a game. Just that's the narrative. And how do you respond to that if you haven't done it? If you haven't done it, you can sit here and try and dismiss them, but it's the truth. If people put that narrative out there, it's your job to say, okay, look, all right, man, this is what we've been doing to prepare ourselves to go win a cold weather game. Because if I put that narrative out there and it's been true, hey, you guys are significantly different in the cold weather versus playing in Miami, that's the issue. Okay. And that's a significant issue. And I just feel like, hey, I don't think they're gonna hold on to him much longer if that particular narrative rears its ugly head once again if they make the playoffs. Kevin Stefanski, 21 and 30 in the regular season. Again, I don't understand how he's still there because again, you look at some of the Cleveland Browns roster. I told somebody on Twitter, I think they had a top 10 roster. I want to say 2020 or 2021, one of the two, and he was at the helm. And again, if this is the case, right? If you had this particular guy at the helm or on the coaching staff, now we're talking, hey, wait a minute, we haven't done what we need to do when it comes down to uh, uh, putting together a roster, a complete roster to do what we need to do. And if you haven't put together that particular, not just about the roster, but if you haven't, hey, maximized the productivity for these guys, in the regular season to get us to the postseason, I just feel like again they're going to say, "Hey, look, at some point we got to cut sling low with this particular coach because we're not getting the squeeze when it comes down to the juice that we want." And I just feel like, hey, Kevin Stefanski could be on his last leg if Cleveland looks like a 3-14 team again, or even a 5-12 team. I just feel like the Browns are not going to sit back and continue to be the laughing stock of not just the AFC North but the AFC and probably NFL for that matter. I just feel like they're not going to sit back and continue to let that happen. Now, the crazy part about it is there is no definitive home run hire for the Browns because at the end of the day, if there was another Bill Belichick waiting in the wings to take this coaching position for 20 years and in those 20 years win you 5 championships or 6 championships or whatever it may be, if there was a coach that was like that, I'm pretty sure he would already be hired. So it's going to be interesting if they do make this move, who would be the guy that would come in and give them some kind of instant gratification when it comes down to, hey, we made a right hire to push the Cleveland Browns back into contention. So, all right, for Brian Dable, 18-32 in the regular season, 1-1 in the playoffs. Again, the 18 and 32 sticks out more than the 1-1 in the playoffs. The 1-1 in the playoffs, some people will be okay with that. I just think the 18 and 32 basically saying, hey, look, we're not even winning half of our games every year. If we're not winning half of our games, now we're talking again. You don't win half of your games. How can I continue to keep you here when I watch a team like the Washington Commanders leapfrog us when we're talking about finishing third or fourth every year, and now the Washington Commanders could be potentially looking at finishing second. And we watched them be in the dumps just like us for years. And then next thing you know, one or two particular coaching changes, ownership change. And then next thing you know, these guys are the new kids on the block in the NFC East. And I feel like if that happens, the days of Brian Dable being the New York Giants head coach could be here, or could be numbered rather sooner than later. And I just feel like it should have been time. Some people say, hey, no, he needs a little bit more time. This is me. I don't feel like you need a lot of time, especially some of the stuff that they pulled when it comes down to the Daniel Jones debacle, when it comes down to the Saquon Barkley debacle. I got it. He probably wanted to keep him. But then at that particular point, if you got rid of my star guy and I was pounding the table for him, hey, look, we're going to mutually agree to part ways, because what I don't want to have happen is you be in a situation like you're in right now. And now it is not so much about the Saquon Barkley leaving. It's about what are you going to do now that he's gone and he's went on to win the Super Bowl. Now, okay, what is going to be the aha moment of why we got rid of Saquon? Because right now you don't have one. Right now it's people making memes about you, your GM, and the owner getting rid of Saquon Barkley or allow him to be shocked, not re-signed. And then next thing you know, he goes to Philadelphia and he wins the Super Bowl. So right now you got egg on your face. So you have to do something to say, okay, look, this kind of smooths over that within the fan base, within the organization, with my owner and whatnot. If you don't give that particular some kind of satisfaction of that, I just feel like again, this is kind of feel like a little scapegoat, but then at the same time, it's like, hey, we got to get rid of the complete taste in our mouths that we have, and we just felt like, hey, we'll feel a little bit better having this particular coach fall on his sword if you will. So, all right. So again, if you're out there, please let me know that you're out there. If you can hear me, you can see me. Please let me know if you can see me. If you can't, please let me know that as well, so I can adjust, and then we can go ahead and wrap this thing up and get out of here. So again, just to recap, we talked about the coaches, hot seat coaches. We talked about the Ravens prediction record, what I think their record would be. You guys were more than welcome to chime in and say, "Hey, coach, I think you're right on. I think you're right on with this particular prediction. You're a little bit off on this one, or you may have this one wrong, or whatever." I'm okay with all that. I love the discussion back and forth, and I can kind of tell you my reasoning behind it and whatnot. But like I told you guys in the introduction, I'm going to give you guys some defensive coverages type of video, and I'm also give you guys some of the stat prediction for some of our star players: Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, probably the receiving core, and then I'll probably do a couple of defensive players. What you think? What I think they will finish when it comes down to their stat predictions, as well as the defensive coverages and stuff like that. So again, thank you guys for all the support up until this point. And if you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe. You can like, share, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, whatever it may be, and all that good stuff. I'm trying to grow the channel. If you got something particular that you want me to talk about, please leave that in the comments wherever you're watching and whatnot, and then we'll go from there. All right, so I'm gonna leave it here for a little bit, and if you guys don't have any kind of comments, then I'll go ahead and end this particular stream, and then we'll go from there. All right, so I don't see any comments. Okay. All right. So again, thank you guys for all the support again. Appreciate you guys. And until the next time will probably be this particular weekend. So I'll kind of do the same thing I've done this time, and then we'll go from there. All right. So again, thank you guys again for all the support, and wish nothing but peace and love to you guys and your families. And until next time, see you guys again.